Ho, 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 everybody. Merry Christmas. It's the,
Merry Christmas.
it's the T's Weird Week holiday special. I'm T. Krulos, and look who's with me drinking a smoothie.
Sure, a smoothie. Let's go with that. Good
Uh,
idea.
it's Heidi
Is
Erickson.
Heidi Erickson not having any rum whatsoever? Low Saturnalia, everybody.
How are you doing? We haven't done a T's Weird Week in a while.
Right? This feels like archaeology. We're going backwards in time. It's a whole thing that's happening. But this is a special. This is the holiday special, just like Charlie Brown. This is the super festive version. I'm wearing my reindeer underpants and everything.
Well, it was a very busy fall and early
Yeah.
winter season.
Yeah.
Lots going on. There was a paranormal conference.
Hmm.
Milwaukee Krampusnacht. What did you think of
Mhm.
that shit?
Oh man, that was so great. That was so good. There was, I mean, like what, 50, 60,000 people there, it felt like. There was characters from all over the globe. Atlas Obscura was there. There was food and drink and people carrying on and making merry. I think that was the best parade, the best Krampus parade ever. Everybody was so into it. Folks were getting whipped and stuff. Absolutely smashing. Absolutely the best. What was your favorite part? You were busting your took us on that one for a minute.
Yeah, it was literally running up and down the street sometimes, and I it's it's really fun for me in the days afterward because I get to see everyone's pictures and videos, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea that this person was there or that this was going on. So really fun to see all that. You were there, by the way, as a Mary Lude, although I'm being told that the correct pronunciation is Mary Lloyd.
It's Mary Lloyd. Like,
Yeah, but I think it's a tomato thing.
I don't know. I like saying lewd. I feel like
Yeah,
it implies something like a little bit naughty, and I feel
yeah,
like that's really the spirit of the season and of the character.
yeah.
She's naughty. Mary Lou is naughty.
You were there as a Mary Lude. You were in the
Mm.
parade,
Yep.
and you showed up to bust a move because this great hip hop artist Puerto
Ah,
Rican gave
she's
a
great.
performance, and I was like, wouldn't this not be totally dope to have a couple Mary Ludes as backup dancers?
Yeah.
And you made that happen, so I'm really happy that that happened.
I have to be honest, I really thought you were maybe shoehorning in a Mary Lude here and there. But I spoke to Puerto Rican when I showed up there, who was awesome, by the way. She put on a great show. She did an amazing job. It was freezing cold outside, and we were out of doors, and she was dressed to slay and like not wearing a big heavy winter coat for sure. And she just dropped it like it was hot. She did a great job. But I showed up and I was like, oh, hey, like I'm here dressed as a scary Christmas ghost horse to be in your presence. Is that cool? And she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." She was so pumped that I was there, and I just
Yeah,
happened to run into another Mary Lude because it was the place was lousy with Mary Ludes and hobgoblins and all kinds of other characters, and so we got to do like a dancing duet with Puerto Rican that night. So that was pretty rad. What a good time.
that's cool. Yeah, she was super nice. She was really stoked about the event. She was like, I think I found my people here. And I was like, you absolutely did. So
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best. I did feel real old though, because at one point I was listening to the show and I was like, oh, this is great. So I went up to like her little merch table and I said, oh, could I buy a CD? And the look that her person gave me when I asked to buy a CD, honestly, I might as well have asked to buy an 8-track tape. She was like, no, you can go onto the internet though, and there's these things called streaming services. And I was
uh,
like, never mind, I'm gonna go clean my dentures. But other than that, it was a super fly time. And there was good snacks that were there too, and so many awesome vendors. And the little children were having the bestest time in the entire world, which is amazing, really, because like there were definitely like the Krampus is a monster. Like that's the whole point, is he's there to punish the bad kids, and he's all hairy and he's got horns and he's a scary looking dude. And there definitely were some kids at the parade who were a little bit scared. And the kids who were scared, their parents thought it was the best thing ever. They're like, yeah, scare the hell out of them. And
yeah.
the kids that weren't scared were like, I saw one little kid run up and hug the biggest Krampus. I'm like, Krampus throws little chubby arms around his hairy legs. Aw, that's real cute. That's real cute.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's it's a lot of work, and it's frustrating sometimes because it is a lot of work. But once I'm in the event and I see people like having a really good time, I'm like
Yeah,
totally worth it, dude.
yeah,
Totally worth it. It's great to see people just having like stupid fun the whole night.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I'd love to yak away about this. However, we have some special guests that are sitting in our waiting room, and we're gonna let them into the panel
I'll bring
here
him on in. Bring him on
in
in.
in just a second. And we can discuss this with the panel, but I mean, there's so much weird news that we missed
Yeah.
in the months since we've been off, and so there's a lot we could talk about. The one story I wanted to bring up, because this is pretty intense X-Files stuff here in Wisconsin, which you and me have had many discussions about how weird a place Wisconsin is.
Yeah.
This month, there's been they call it a flap, is a series of UFO sightings. So there's been this string of UFO sightings around the state this month for the Christmas season. And oh shoot, my page crashed. Well, anyway, there's been sightings in Greenfield, West Bend, and McGuanago. And in these sightings, people are seeing these uh, like a formation of lights that come zooming past
Right.
really quick over the sky. And some people are like, "Oh, that's just some holiday light thing, or searchlights or something." But
Mm,
they're kind of out there, and I don't think that they would be visible from all of those different locations. And they've been happening different nights too. I
yeah.
think the first one happened December 1st. There was another sighting December 2nd, and so here we have someone. It's not showing who they are, but they've got the link in the comments. This is a Milwaukee Journal Sentinel wrote an article about this a couple days ago. Okay, so that's something we can discuss. I'm going to bring in our panel now, and let's start with Alicia Krupski,
Alicia, hi.
Hi.
artist and filmmaker. Where she is directing a documentary called I'm Your Host. I'm a producer on that documentary. It's been super fun working on that. Alicia showed me some footage from it just a couple days ago, and it's looking really good so far. So thanks for being here. And then we also have Mike Huberty. He is I don't know what's your job title at American Ghost Walks? Owner, operator?
I usually
CEO?
just say owner of American Ghost Walks,
Yeah.
head ghoul or something like that.
I like that.
Mhm.
That looks good on a business card. Head cool.
Right.
I like that.
He's also in Sunspot, which we've had their songs on several episodes of T's Weird Week in the past. And American Ghost Walks is a sponsor and really helped a lot organizing the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference this year. Also a sponsor of Krampusnacht. And last person we have here is Jenny Sanchez, joining us from
Hi.
Denver, Colorado. Jenny does a lot of things, but she works in the travel industry. She's a travel writer. She has a platform called Long Days Travel. She also owns a salon there in Denver. And we're working on a book project together called Paranormal Road Trip, which is super fun, travel guide type of thing. So, hey, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
Right on.
Mike, seeing that you have your pulse on the paranormal, what do you think of this UFO stuff going on?
Well, this was the topic at hand for Christmas dinner yesterday. With my sister Allison came up, and the first thing was like, okay, what did we think about that video over West Bend? Now, also, my sister's husband, my brother-in-law, he teaches in a place called Kewaskum between north side of Milwaukee and West Bend. So he's through that area and very familiar with it as well. And so I was on Twitter wasting my life when Ben Hansen put that footage up originally. So Ben Hansen, he was Ghosts of Shepherdstown was his show, and he's a former FBI agent that now is a paranormal celebrity. And the reason I have any respect for him whatsoever is because he was on a show with Mark O'Connell, another Wisconsin guy, or formerly Wisconsin, but Wisconsin guy for like 55 years or whatever. So we'll give it to him. And Mark O'Connell and I grew up in the same town, Big Bend, and Mark O'Connell was a big MUFON investigator in Wisconsin for a long time, and he's the executive producer of a show called UFO Witness. Mm-hmm. Mark O'Connell couldn't be the main guy on it because he unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer and had to go through chemotherapy and stuff, the whole deal. And I think he's on the other side of it now. So Ben Hansen is like the face of that show, UFO Witness. Okay, so it's like, well, I like Mark and I know he's not full of it. So if he's got Ben on his show, that means there must be something good about Ben Hansen. And so Ben Hansen tweets out UFOs over West Bend, Wisconsin. Check it out. And then he shows the footage, and I'm like, it looks like there's 4 lights in the sky, and the other sky comes up right up to it. And they call them Firefly UFOs or Firefly UAPs because they move so quickly. The first thing I thought was, are they just getting footage over an Ernie von Schledorn? Because that's all I can think with the spotlights from Ernie von Schledorn, kind of deal. So that was my first thought too. But people said they'd never seen anything like it, and so a lot of discussion online ensued. Also, Mick West, a famous UFO debunker, he's an English guy, so he sounds cultured. So it's kind of hard to remove that when he talks about UFOs. You're like, oh, he's English. He must be smart. And then he debunks it, and then it breaks your heart. So that's the whole. Mick West was saying it was, like kind of floodlights from a nearby Christmas thing. But now people are going back and forth. It was featured in the Daily Mirror in the UK, in the New York Post. Milwaukee Journal had a great article about it. Journal Sentinel had a really good article about this week, an actual both sides article. And then Ben Hansen was on Tucker Carlson the other night also showing the footage. So this has gone from like somebody's cell phone video over West Bend to people are talking about it on national news. And they might be talking about Ernie von Schledorn, but it's nice to see Wisconsin get some love.
Ernie von Schledorn, by the way, is a car dealership here in Wisconsin.
But think of think of spotlights over the with the over the city and stuff like that. And his thing used to be, who do you know wants to buy a car? And he'd had this big German accent kind of thing, and it sticks with me from my youth. So whenever I think of the north of the city or whatever, I think of Ernie von Schledorn in Menominee Falls. Yeah.
Okay. So. Anyone have any other comments on Wisconsin UFOs? Because
no, but I just pulled it up. I just pulled up the articles because I'm here in Colorado and I didn't see it, so it didn't make way like over here yet. So
so many weird things happen in Wisconsin. They just don't even talk about it past like lacrosse. They're like, was it UFOs again?
We'll
I remember the pandemic seeing some weird stuff in the sky, and I looked it up. I was like, is anyone else? And it was just Elon Musk's stupid satellites going through. And I was like, oh.
I remember
these definitely aren't Starlink because Starlink looks like a chain of lights in the sky going through. And they're just, there were several sightings of Starlink in Wisconsin just last year. And then even our an American Ghost Walks, our tour coordinator, Anna, she sends me a text message. She's like, I think I just saw some crazy shit, man. And sends me the link. And it's the video and I'm like, oh, and so I put it up and it was Starlink.
Right.
But it just, if you're not used to seeing a string of satellites in the sky, because we are not.
Yeah.
It's going to look like oh, they're here, guys. It's V. The lizard people are coming for our children.
Yeah. Fun fact, I was laying in a lawn chair in a backyard looking up at the sky, literally stargazing when that happened with my partner. And nobody was expecting it. We were the only people who didn't get the email. Did Elon tell anybody that was going to be happening? Because it was just 11.
The sky was going to be different forever now?
Well, now he would have tweeted about it.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
he would, yeah. He didn't though. He didn't give anybody the heads up. So we had the longest, like 3.5 minutes of our life where we were like, okay, yep,
They're
that
coming.
seems
They're
about right
here.
for this year. Yep, that's right. That's very on brand for 2020. Was it
Beam me
2021?
up. Beam me up.
I did just go by SpaceX at the South Padre Island, and I will tell you that shit is like Jurassic Park. They're literally off a dirt road in the border of Mexico and Texas, and their rockets are just like right there that they're assembling, and it totally felt like if I was in Jurassic World movie or book, that this is how it takes place, and that's what's happening at this facility. So
you say that, but that's definitely his next thing. Next month he's gonna be like, you guys.
Yeah.
Welcome
And
to Jurassic Park.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
$8. You get a baby pterodactyl.
That is a hell of a deal.
That is a really good deal.
I do want to say the guy from Mukwonago. So I went to Mukwonago High School, so I got to give it some hometown love or whatever. That's the only hometown love I'm ever going to give Mukwonago. But the guy from Mukwonago, if you the Journal Sentinel article that shows what he saw or whatever. Now he didn't see it in the West Bend area. He didn't see those Firefly UAPs that everybody else was seeing, those looked like quick moving spotlights. I mean, if they were UFOs, that's cool. Or if they were alien aircraft, awesome. Beam me, take me, please. I'm ready.
Right.
But those were different. That was a different phenomena that he saw, but he reported it. And so it's kind of in now the people will talk about the December 2022 Wisconsin UFO sightings, and his is a different phenomena than what they were seeing with these lights in the sky over north of the city.
Are they really called flaps? That's what a group of UFO sightings are called.
Like a wave
like
of them.
A parliament of owls and a pod of dolphins and a flap of UFO sightings.
Yeah, should we call them an abduction of UFOs?
Right. You'll say like, oh yeah, the UFO flap from like June and July of 1954 or whatever. This was called a flap.
I don't like that.
Natural habitat.
I don't like that. That sounds like a part of a sea manatee or something. It's a flap. I don't like that.
When a lot of things you'll find that a lot of famous things end up being clustered pretty close together. I was doing a bunch of Bermuda Triangle work this week, obviously.
As you do.
And so the disappearance of Flight 19, where those military aircraft, they find them, they disappear in 1947. They find them again in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That's the beginning of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where they find the planes that disappeared of the Bermuda Triangle in 1947. Okay, that's June of 1947. Then Kenneth Arnold's sighting, the first flying saucer sighting that people talk about, happens a couple days later. And then Roswell is like a week and a half after that.
That's a flap.
So when you're taking like the three hugely famous UFO involved, the disappearance of the Bermuda Triangle of these, because not only the original planes disappeared, but the planes that went to look after the planes disappeared.
Right. Well, when you go to investigate a flap, you'll find the flap will just get deeper and deeper the further you look into it.
Until you are you're inside the alien's flap.
The flap. That's the nature of flaps. That's science. That's how they work.
Flapology.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll keep tuned on this UFO story and see what happens. See if the flap continues or if the flap ceases. But okay, I got questions for our guests. So I'm going to start with Jenny. Jenny, if you're not following her on Instagram, you should. Long Days Travel. And whenever I go on Instagram, I am amazed at what Jenny is up to and kind of jealous, I have to say, because you're always going to really cool, interesting places all over the country. Paranormal related places, but also tiki bars and quirky little shops.
This was my year of the tiki.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, you were like, what are we going to talk about? So I just scrolled through your Instagram. I'm like, geez, I don't even know like where to start. So I'm just going to ask you about a couple places you've been in the somewhat recent past. First of all, this is not weird. This is just adorable. You visited the Grand Canyon Deer Farm where you're
Aw.
hanging out with Santa Claus and reindeer.
Aw.
What's that all about?
I was shocked actually that you said that you would ask me about the deer farm, because it is like one of the touristy things that you could do in that area. It's about an hour from the Grand Canyon, and it is adorable. And I did have my Snow White princess moment, which is not a usual thing, but I like animals, and anytime you can legally pet and harass like animals, I'm all about it. And they're very well, it's a very clean, and it seems like a safe, nice place. They even have a special pen for like senior deer so that they're safe and they
Oh.
don't just like, get rid of them. They have some adopted, some animals that, there was an elk that was attacked by dogs when it was a baby. And so they
Oh.
have that rescue there, but they do have a few rescued animals, and they have signs to like educate people. Like if you see a deer in the wild, a baby, like don't touch it, because obviously it will get sent or to a place like this deer farm or euthanized. But they try to educate people and make money on it. But it seemed like everybody there loved all of the animals, and it was $20 for just pure bliss of being able to feed these deers and pet them and meet Santa Claus and reindeer. And it was a very nice experience. And for being on a farm setting, it was extremely clean. It didn't smell like poop. There was like hundreds of deers, and it didn't smell like poop.
That was nice. That's nice.
It was very nice.
That's a Christmas miracle right there.
Yeah, I know, but it was weird because I went to Jerome, Arizona, where it said that they used, so they didn't have anywhere to put the bodies went back when they had pandemics, 100 years ago or whatever. And it said that they used their copper like smelter. I don't even know the correct term, but they only had like 100 bodies buried there because they took these bodies and basically cremated them. And then when they made roads, they used the ash from the copper weight. I have to look up the term because I can't remember what they called it. It was slag is the waste from a copper smelter. So there was human remains in this smelter, and then they just built their buildings and roads with it.
Right. That's so efficient. I love that.
I guess. I mean, they
That's
got
a
rid of
good
their
way
bodies.
to spread ghosts around.
I was gonna say, have these people never seen I mean, I guess they didn't have Poltergeist or whatever back then, or the movies,
Well,
so that
They
the
weren't
idea.
invented yet.
Well,
they
Poltergeist
definitely
1849, but
They marked it. They
absolutely
have
like
posters,
bodies,
yeah.
bodies in the wall.
Yeah.
No,
You
it's
can't talk. All of
horrifying.
Milwaukee is built with bones. The whole place. That's one of my favorite
All right,
stories about the place.
the Cream City bricks.
The
Yeah.
Cream City brick is it's actually people colored, bone colored, because the brickyard that was in Milwaukee originally was where what is now the corner of Lincoln and Kinnickinnick Avenues. And the brickyard used to be the town cemetery before Milwaukee even had a name. It was the place they buried people because it was downwind of where people were actually living. But that's also where the clay was, because that's where the lake would overflow when it flooded in the springtime. So they moved to the cemetery, which is never a real thing. Has that ever happened in the history of ever? When they're like, we're going to put this thing over the cemetery, we're just going to move these bodies. Of course, never happened. So, of course, whatever, the brickyard was there for a bazillion years. And then when they were digging up the street to lay down the drainage for what became Kinnickinnick Avenue, what did they find there? Change, old skate keys. Wrong. No, dead people's bodies. But that was the whole area that the brickyard had been, which meant they never moved the bodies, which means all the Cream City brick, which is what the whole city is made of, is made up with ground up dead people. So there's
Wonderful.
that.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite fact of the week. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, Jenny. Mike was mentioning that he remembers, from our childhood, Ernie von Schledorn's Circus of Values, Main Street in Menominee Falls. But you went to a place that has some nostalgia for me because, you kids today might not know this, as Heidi was saying about CDs. If you wanted to have entertainment, you didn't have the internet. So you had to go to a place called Blockbuster Video. And that was important, I would say, even up until my late teens. That was kind of my pickup line, I'd be like, hey, baby, you want to go to Blockbuster Video with me and look for some movies? But Jenny went to see the last Blockbuster Video on Earth.
Yep.
Where is it?
In Bend, Oregon. So Bend is, I'm trying to think where, it's near Redmond, Oregon, both small towns. Bend does not have any buildings higher than 3 stories. So it's a pretty small town. I guess the river is like a popular draw. It's for like outdoorsy people. So if you like mountain climbing and I don't know, floating down the river in a canoe or something, that's like where you would go. But they do have the last Blockbuster in the entire world. It is an open Blockbuster, so you can rent DVDs from there. You just have to show them your state ID and a credit card in order to rent one. But it smells like Blockbuster, so everything is set up. It has the Blockbuster smell. So I don't know if it's like a smell of like popcorn and paper or plastic or something. It's like a weird combination smell, but you know it once you like walk in there. And
Does
then
it
they
smell
have
more or less like poop than the deer farm in the Grand Canyon is my question. Comparing smells.
It wasn't really, no, it didn't smell bad, but it was very, it is a tour. Like there's people that drive from all over because I wasn't the only tourist. I don't know. It was weird. Just like off season going through Bend. And it's funny. I had do massage and facials at my salon, and one of my old clients actually moved to Bend. And while I was passing through for work, she came and picked me up and she was like, what do you want to do? She wanted to show me the river and all this stuff. And I was like, I want you to take me to the last Blockbuster. And she's like, why? I'm like, it's because it's the only one in the entire world. And she was like, she's like, when I moved, you should have told me that you wanted my old like DVDs and VHS. And I was like, I would have loved to have taken them. But this place is just special, like on so many levels, because it's in the middle of nowhere and you can't just go to one. Like, I don't even remember the phase out. Like, I remember like you just stopped.
No, they were just gone.
Yeah,
And
it
then
was pretty
there was
quickly.
Redbox, and yeah, I don't even know if there's still Redboxes around, but it was.
Well, they made a documentary on Netflix you guys can check out called The Last Blockbuster.
Yeah, I watched it. I did. I saw it after I went, so it was interesting. But
I bet it smells like 250 copies of like a Jennifer Lopez movie. Like, like you walk in and it's like, boy, this place smells like Made in Manhattan, doesn't it?
They had all kinds of stuff there. They had a Marvel section. They had a horror section. They had everything. They had like just 90s nostalgia movies, like Jurassic Park again, Jurassic World. I forgot Alien. They had all kinds of stuff.
Cool. All right, one more place I want to talk to you about, Jenny, and it ties into film as well. You got to go to Camp John Waters.
Yes, I did.
That is so awesome. Can you tell us what Camp John Waters is?
Oh my God. So
other than being like the best thing ever.
So the first rule of Camp John Waters is that you don't talk about Camp John Waters.
Oh, okay.
Well, I will tell you, after my experience, I did join a cult. I realized that once I got home that I was like, shit, I guess this means like I'm in a cult. It's a thing. But it's in Connecticut, and it's on a place called Camp Getaway. So it's a regular camp. I don't know. I'm from Los Angeles, so like camping out in the woods, like my first thought when I arrived there, it was dark, middle of the woods, middle of nowhere. That this is like where horror movies and shit are filmed. Like I went into a cabin. It just was like super remote. And I was like, this is where somebody jumps out and stabs people and like skins your body and leaves you for dead. But it's where they do camp like year round, or I don't know, seasonal. And every year, I guess they host Camp John Waters. And I think this was the 8th year. But it's one of those things where you have to buy tickets in advance. It does sell out. And I guess it is very private because it's a place where you do like quirky stuff. And like there's a lot of sexual like openness. And like if I wanted to get body painted, there are people that are just totally topless. And you can, get body painted. And it's a very queer space. So as a female, like there's like no like toxic masculine energy there. So if I wanted to
Wow.
be with my tits out, like nobody would be like staring or drooling or like harassing me. But like there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of queer people there. So there's like literally moments where you'll see somebody with their cock out just chilling, but they're just having a good time. Like everybody's dressed in costume, everybody goes all out on these costumes. John Waters is there. He does like a dinner speech. Debbie Harry came to this event. So it was really cool to have like
Wow.
two birds with one stone. I got to meet Debbie Harry and I got to meet John Waters. But yeah, it's like a camping event where you could do like kayaking and shit. And then you can also like be with all these other weird, like just everybody has a common bond. And it's fun and everybody dresses up. There's like beehive costume contest. There's dance contest. There's just all kinds of like social events, but it's not really talked about a lot, or a lot of pictures are posted, I think, for people's privacy. So let's say you're like a bank manager or an attorney or something in your hometown. Like you're
Sure.
not gonna have picture, like it's a very, like once you go there, I think it's just like a code that you wouldn't be sharing anybody's picture, like going to a swingers party or something. Like you just wouldn't share these pictures unless it was like with permission.
Yeah.
And there's like a special group that I'm in on Facebook now. So
Well, when you
Wait,
said cult, I could think of like, I hope the initiation isn't the last scene from Pink Flamingos.
no,
All I could think of was like, you know,
No,
and
no,
then
no.
at the serial killer, I'm like, oh, it's Kathleen Turner or whatever,
Yeah.
serial mom.
there was some great impersonators, like drag impersonators and people in costumes and costume contests from people from the movies. And it was a lot of fun and it was really cool.
It sounds fun. It sounds super
Yeah.
fun.
You had me at camp, no toxic masculinity. Like I would have paid a lot of money to go to that camp, even if there wasn't John Waters and Debbie Harry.
Yeah,
That would have been super good.
It was awesome. And I do definitely recommend once in your lifetime, if you're what of a fan of John Waters, to go.
Cool.
So
All right, let's talk to the next John Waters, Alicia Krupski.
Oh my God. That means so much.
No pressure.
Oh, now you gotta, Alicia. Now you
Yeah,
gotta.
Right. And T is your divine.
I am goblin mode in motion, so I will take that.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this project that, you know, we got started. I'm your host, in which we are examining the phenomenon of specifically Kenosha, Wisconsin-based horror hosts, which there's a surprisingly large amount of. And we got started on it, and it's been like a roller coaster, right? It's been like emotional.
Yeah.
Like one of the horror hosts died right after we interviewed him. It's very sad. But we also had some really great moments, like Dr. Destruction being inducted into the Worldwide Horror Host Hall of Fame. We threw a little party for him in Kenosha. What's been one of your favorite or memorable moments working on this project?
I guess on like a sentimental note, yeah, there was one of our subjects passed away from COVID during Dedgar Winter, and he was I met him briefly at Wendigo Fest, and then you all interviewed him, and then I've just been editing him. I've been editing like all this like I feel very like well, I'm just happy that people would trust me to tell the story of like how this whole thing went, because it just all happened at once. I really think in the beginning I was expecting this to be just about like horror hosting, and in a way it has been about the whole history, but it's also been about, I think, a group of people who have history together, who kind of all came to like an understanding of each other through a really hard time in the world. So I think the most interesting part was doing Storm's, doing the final memorial for Dedgar, editing that and talking to everybody. And I grew up in Madison, so I'm not like a stranger to goths, but I did not know Kenosha was like where you went and like learned goth culture and stuff. So I think, yeah, that was the most meaningful part. But the funniest was meeting Dr. Destruction, and just everything he does is just comedy. Like, it's just, he lives it 100%. So you're just hoping you catch it.
He's a very entertaining guy. We found this footage. Well, he found it. He posted it. But I love it. It's from like 20 years ago. And he's got like his gang. He rolls with like a gang of like weird goth and metal dudes.
It's so good.
And they're downtown, and he has a hearse, and they go downtown Kenosha, and they pull this coffin out of the back of the hearse. They're like on Main Street, you know. And Dr. Destruction like pops out of the coffin because they're trying to shoot like a scene for the show. It's great.
Classic.
Like, that's how he makes entrances. Like, these people, like, to go off the drag, like, it is like drag in a way, but it's about horror and like horror comedy, and I guess like the whole goth subculture. It's just really fun to talk about movies with these people and to just,
yeah, they're way
it's Wisconsin kind of weirdness, like, celebrated, I think, in a showbiz kind of way. I don't know. It's been really fun to work on it, but
yeah. And they really like lived the lifestyle. Like, you know, Dr.
100%.
Destruction is Dr. Destruction maybe like 23 hours a day. You know,
I've seen him without makeup once.
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah.
And I've been working on this film for a year and a half.
Dedgar, like, so Dedgar Kurt, when we played Dedgar's show or whatever, like, it was in his mom's basement. Like, it's there, and he's taking care of his mom, and she's sick, and like he changed his life to take care of, and this is the guy that died that we're talking about here. I don't know, spoilers for the movie, but like, he changed his life so he could take care of his mom. He's the nicest guy in the world, and he's this goofy character and when you're shooting in the basement, it's like haphazard and anything goes, and you're hoping there's like metal dudes wasted and passed out like in the corner, like wasted rock rangers, and you're sitting there and you're like, is somebody's gonna edit this, right? You know, you're like, if you make a mistake or something goes through, you're like, oh, we'll just move on. I'm like, hey, can I get another take or something? Like, this isn't right. Let's do this. Like, it's good.
It's very much in the spirit of like Ed Wood Jr., you know.
It's the spirit of like, let's put on a show and have fun, and those guys really and the other, we talk about the hearse, right? There's a hearse festival that takes place every summer in Darien, I think, which is not, I mean, that's the Wisconsin-Illinois border. We played it one year, and I mean, everybody was dressed up like it was a Munsters reunion or something. And, you know, it was great. It was a lot of fun. It lowers
my blood pressure. It's amazing. It's so good.
Me and Alicia had a really great moment, by the way, in October. We submitted, or we worked together to submit it to Milwaukee Film. Does a program. It's called the Preco Forward Fund, and we showed up because they're announcing it to everyone who applied.
Yeah, like it was just
like
the filmmakers.
Yeah,
just like,
I was like, I don't know about this. And yeah, we were both nervous. We went in. There's a lot of how should I put this? Very film
people.
It's
just film people and us.
I was like, I don't know if we're gonna cut it in this crowd. So, you know, we sat down, we're waiting.
They were snobby. Was everybody they were wearing like turtlenecks and smoking or whatever, or what? Like, they're all
not that extreme.
At least you have tons of turtlenecks. You should have just worn more turtlenecks to assert dominance.
I am film people, definitely. Like, I am like a cigarette smoking film person. So
yeah. Don't you have a beret and everything? Like,
I have a beret. I love my beret.
Yeah.
So
beret.
Yes, very lovely.
Love it.
This
And I
this
love
cinema.
Yeah,
So, and by the way, they had free food and drink there. So I'm just sitting there eating French fries and drinking beers, and we're waiting. Finally, they get up and are like, "All right, we're gonna start." Everyone's nervous, and they start talking about the first award winner. And me and Alicia were looking at each other, and I was like, "Dude, that's us. They're talking about us." And we were excited, and so I thought we were supposed to go up there and give a speech. So we
so
walked
we walk
up.
up there.
I grabbed the microphone, and they're like, "No speeches." And I would have been embarrassed, but I was so
Classic.
happy. I would have been embarrassed, but I was so happy that we had won that I was like, "Yeah, guess what? I'm an idiot. I don't care."
Yeah, I
story
think
of my
it was
life.
just that. Yeah, it was just that. Like, it seemed like a lot of the film people knew each other, and we didn't know anybody else there. Like,
Mm.
I saw a few people from film school,
Yeah.
who wouldn't remember me because I was only there a year. So I was just kind of like, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to get sad if we don't. I think we, this is like it'd be great if we get the money for licensing if we want to reference other horror hosts like Elvira and open up the world. But like the first person that they called out, they were like, we just think this film is just so fun. Horror host, and we were just like up, like, what is going on? And
even before they said horror, though, they were like kind of saying, we see a lot of potential because it follows this kind of quirky group of people that have their own little universe. And I was like, huh.
And I was like, no. And then I started getting nervous because I was like, yeah, we have to stand up and go up there. T, please talk.
I was ready to give an hour-long speech, but they shut me down.
Yeah,
immediately.
The tyranny of it all. But it's been really heartfelt and a good story too.
This is super fun. It's going really well. Looking forward to being able to see it on the big screen someday.
It's 2023.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Mike. Everyone knows Milwaukee Paranormal Conference is the best conference to go to. Well, you got the shirt on and everything.
Nice.
Indeed.
But I know, like, over this last year, you've gone to a lot of other conferences, around the Midwest, certainly. And I'm just wondering, did any of those conferences really impress you? Do you have like a recommendation? If people want to check something out in 2023, you should check out this conference.
Well, I would say, one place that amazes me that it gets a lot of people, number one, in the middle of nowhere, number two, is the Michigan Paranormal Conference.
Okay.
So that's all the way up in the UP at, sorry, my daughter is my house is haunted. No, my daughter is playing with the smart lights at some point in the house. And
I like it. It's good for atmosphere. It feels very on brand.
We're at the disco, Ming.
Yeah, we just have to all.
Party, hey.
But so what's cool about there is that there's probably over 1,000 people that come every year.
Oh wow!
That from different points, and it might be because it's so far out of the way. Sault Ste. Marie is a tiny town on the Canadian border. It's the kind of place where you can spit from one end of downtown to the other, kind of thing.
I love spitting.
But they do. There's a they have a that's what makes it for me. That's why I make the 8-hour drive. But I'd say it. Sometimes it relies heavy on the TV people, right? So that's the kind of thing. It should be it should be subsidized by the Travel Channel or whatever. But what I think makes it good is the fact that it's the same people that come back every year. And so that community of not necessarily whoever's cool in the Travel Channel, but the community of paranormal lovers is interesting that they keep on coming back.
It's
so I think that's I think that's really fun. The visitors and stuff like that. And so that's what I've kind of appreciated. Plus they've brought in some horror people too.
Oh,
So
nice.
like last year, like I got to talk to the guy that directed Witchboard for 2 hours, and he was just
Sweet.
sitting there. And after a while, I ran out of questions for him, and I was just like, I gotta find it because our band plays like at the casino where they have the convention and stuff. And so I'm trying to extricate myself from the situation, and I'm like, oh, I probably I would have had a million questions for you, and now I'm trying to get out of this conversation. I'm like, what happened? But the like, it's really interesting, people, and that's kind of a worthwhile event, but you have to make the time investment to go there for 4 days.
Oh, shit.
Kind of deal.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, you said it was in the middle of nowhere. Do people camp around there as part of the paranormal
No, there's
conference?
there's rooms at the there's a big casino where they have it.
Oh, I see.
And
So everyone stays in the hotel at the
they stay at
casino.
they stay at the hotel at casino, or there's a couple of hotels downtown.
Mhm.
You can go there. And so that's a really good one for, they have a kind of a built-in community when you and then everybody's just wandering around the casino all weekend talking about weird stuff. Like you'll be sitting there at a slot machine or whatever, and you're going in, and it's 2:00 in the morning, you're half in the bag, and you're like, oh, right. And then somebody's like, hey, did I ever tell you about the time I saw the shadow person in my daughter's bedroom? And you're like, what?
Get another round over here. We got
Yeah, right. You're like, let's keep this going. And then the whole place is full of weirdos. So that
Nice.
so that really
You're
makes
right
it
at
fun.
home.
I think the small town atmosphere kind of contributed to it too, because there's no attitudes. Everybody's cool. The organizers aren't, everybody's just a really it's a nice thing. Well, it's kind of the community, kind of like around Krampusnacht and the Milwaukee Paranormal Convention and things like that. It's people who are earnestly into it. Nobody's like, oh my God, I bet we can make like $250 off the paranormal. It's more of like, let's get together and be weird.
Sounds
And
like Camp
so-
John Waters.
Love that.
It is like Camp John Waters, except nobody's walking around naked, or I'm not just taking my cock out and chilling.
Yeah, there's fewer cocks.
Everyone's cold.
I mean, is
Everyone's
it
cold.
Right. No, I'm pretty sure the casino security guard would immediately cuff it.
Oh,
So
Yeah, one of my favorite memories, I went to the International UFO Congress way back when I was working on Monster Hunters, and that was also in a casino hotel type thing. And that was out in the middle of nowhere in the desert. There wasn't even a town. You had to kind of just live at the casino for the duration of the event. But I went to the casino like after a talk, and looked over, and there's George Norrie, host of Coast to Coast AM, playing blackjack in the casino, and like definitely you could tell what people were there because they were there for the casino, and what people were there because they were at the UFO conference. There's just something, they had an aura about them that you could identify pretty easily.
That's an aesthetic, though. That's going to become an aesthetic. The casino alien conspiracy theory.
Oh,
and we need
definitely,
a
like-
film.
I've been to like 5 or 6 different conventions at the casino now. Like they had one in northern Wisconsin maybe 3 years ago, but they haven't continued it there. They had one on the Minnesota North Dakota border a couple years ago. Then that one had gone for like 10 years. And it's just a really interesting mix of like the indigenous tribe people who are there that run the casino, and then the people who are like hardcore gamblers and things, and then whoever's a paranormal celebrity or whatnot. When there's the D list and there's the P list, then the P list walks out,
phrasing, Mike. Let's just
I suppose that's
a
right.
little bit.
But I just mean like the P list, like the paranormal celebrities that we all know and love. And then there's like the people like myself who are just like, oh my God, I can't wait to collect some ghost stories today. Or when did you like, oh yeah, your grandfather died? And he appeared to you, right? The next question are like, oh, you got a phone call, and like it was, and then you discover they died at the exact same time, and you can ask people those questions, and nobody's like, oh, that's creepy, dude. They're all like, yeah, that's what happened.
Everyone's just a Charlie Day meme with you.
Pretty much. Well, the conspiracy side is a little bit less than it was, I would say, than years ago. Years ago, it seemed
That's
like
good,
there were more conspiracy people, and I'm pretty sure that's a conspiracy in itself.
Oh.
What?
Hey, by the way, we have people who have been watching the show and commenting. So I'm not going to go through all those, but our friend Shane is here watching the show, and he says, "Did you get to go to the Beast of Bray Road Con? I was curious about that, but couldn't get out there."
We did.
Yeah,
we did
me and Heidi went to Beast of Bray Road conference.
Yeah.
It was nice. It's a small but very interested group of people that attended. So there's some good talks. Jeff Finup, Badgerland Legends, gave a talk there. Shitan Noor was there. I gave a little talk. They had a baked potato
a bar,
buffet.
a buffet, if you will, a smorgasbord, if you want.
It was out there right by Bray Road, like 100 feet away from Bray Road.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was a nice little event.
Yeah, it really was. There were some good talks. I actually learned some things. Like, I like to think that I'm pretty well versed on weird stuff in general. And I just love to go any place where somebody walks up there and is like, have you ever thought about the implications of whatever underwear,
bones in our bricks,
and I'll be like,
our bricks,
the
haunted city we live in.
Right, please go on, tell me all about it. And there was at least twice during that conference, there was I don't remember the name of the author who was speaking there, but she actually was somebody who specialized in the indigenous history of the Mississippian people, who are the people who occupied most of the land that we live on right now. And she was talking about the burial mounds and how those are related to UFO lore, and how that was a part of the mythology of peoples in this area going back a bazillion years. And it was absolutely fascinating. We were just sitting there in this little campus room waiting for the baked potato buffet to happen, and the people were just dropping mad knowledge. It might have been one of the better conferences I've ever been to, just because it was so little and you could just sit there agog 10 feet from the screen and just listen to these people talk. It was amazing.
I mean, well, speaking of mounds, I mean, Madison has the most of the animal-shaped mounds of anywhere in the Midwest. I mean, I'm like, I'd say 400 yards from a lizard mound right by Lake Monona or whatever and it's crazy that all these things are right there, all these spots that had meaning, and you just walk past them, like, what ifs? And a lot of them were obviously destroyed because the people didn't care, when they were working and building the university and stuff. And now they try to save them as best they could. But the fact that, Wisconsin, we got the mounds, baby. That's, we have a lot of cool stuff, really weird stuff right here that I just think that we can't forget about, because you're like, oh man, you watch TV and all these things happen, and because it's wherever they can get their film crews to, or the TV crews and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, and you're like, of course it's close, because it's going to be hard to find a professional cameraman in Madison that can actually get the right stuff to, do some kind of thing. But there's just, ghost for ghost and cryptid for cryptid. I would say we should go up against anywhere else for the amount of
I'm moving.
Yeah, no, we're heavyweight hitters on the weird stuff for sure. Have you guys watched that show that's on, I think it's on Netflix now, the one called Ancient Apocalypse?
Yes.
Did you watch it?
I did.
I've seen all kinds of great articles, and I'm sure most of them are bullshit, about how they're talking about how this is the most dangerous show on television, where it's essentially just this character. I'm sure you know who this is. He was an investigative journalist for years and years and years, and then he became this person who was very about the idea, and there's a term for this hypothesis, this idea that there was a culture, an advanced culture, that existed well before our culture, and then an apocalypse happened, ostensibly the flood, and wiped them off the face of the earth, and we don't know that they ever existed before. And he's been going around for 30 years trying to gather evidence from all of these ancient places that they're tens of thousands of years older than what we presume them to be. And one of those places was definitely the Great Snake Mound, and that is in Mississippi proper. It's one of the biggest mounds in the country, and they wouldn't let him film there. They absolutely refused to let him set foot anywhere near the place, which is wild to think about because we can go right now in Wisconsin and I can camp on top of a mound if I really want to. I don't recommend it. Creepy, weird things happen when you try.
Yeah, I grew up
Yeah.
in McFarland, Wisconsin, that had
Sure.
a burial ground. Indian Mound Middle School was where I went to middle school.
Wow.
Yeah, and a
Wow.
lot of people died of cancer young. There was a lot of like, and I'm not gonna like be like, this is the reason, but there's I just felt like it was like such a depressed energy, and
Yeah,
just
you went to
like this,
crematorium high.
yeah,
Like,
and like
that's so
it was
ugh.
so messed up, like looking back, that like it felt like the dead were not cool with any of this.
I'm
Like, you
sure they
know,
were
like,
not.
they were not cool with shit. And so
No.
I remember being very like, a lot of people in town got sick very young. There was a lot of depression. There was a lot of, and you would
Yeah.
go outside of that area, like Madison, Stoughton, Verona, and people, like, the suicide rates weren't as bad. People weren't as
Sure.
sick. And I remember like just thinking that was weird,
Well, there's a
but
lot of
also
places.
made total sense.
I mean, it could definitely be America built on a whole Indian burial ground. I can't imagine being dead and like just trying to get some peace. And then there's like a Dairy Queen,
Construction.
a bunch of middle schoolers playing kickball in the parking lot. Like that would annoy me too. I would definitely cause trouble. But it's also Wisconsin is full of limestone. This is
We lost you.
Heidi, we lost your audio.
super
We
duper
lost
bizarre.
you, oh, there we go.
Heidi, Houston to Heidi.
No, it
Oh,
cut out again,
no.
Heidi.
Hello?
Well,
Hello?
Okay,
Oh,
now it's
right,
back.
yeah.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
obviously, this-
Everything's fine, you guys.
you pissed
No
off the
big
elder
deal.
gods.
I don't even, where did we leave out? Where did I pop? What
You
day
were-
is it? What's
you were-
going on?
You were about to
Wisconsin's made of limestone.
you were about to explain it's limestone and the reason that why
Limestone.
limestone fits into the stone tape theory.
Right. Okay, because of the Wonder Spot. Have you guys ever been to the Wonder Spot? Is that a thing that you've ever done?
No, I haven't.
You've never been to the Wonder Spot?
I have a
in the
wonder
Dells,
spot.
right?
Sorry.
Yeah, in the Dells.
Hey,
I knew you would have been. I knew you would have been. So the Wonder Spot is this place in the Dells. I've never actually gone to the Wonder Spot because I'm scared of it. It makes me very nervous. It's just a hole in the ground. It's a dirt hole in the ground in the dirt, but it also is apparently bottomless. They've never actually been able to successfully measure the depth of this hole in the ground, and it's deep enough that you can't see the bottom of it, obviously, but there's so much magnetism and fluctuating energy around this hole in the ground that people aren't supposed to go there if they have pacemakers. People get sick and nauseous and dizzy because of the weird electromagnetic fields that are there. It's not necessarily because it's so terribly deep, but because Wisconsin itself sits on all these weird stones and has all this water running underneath it because of all of the underground rivers and lakes there. And scientifically speaking, this is not paranormal. If you have enough water running in opposite directions, cold water against like magnetized like minerals, it's going to create weird electromagnetic things to happen. And one of the side effects of that is depression, illness, inflammation. Like, I think Wisconsin is
Dang.
probably not supposed to exist in this dimension. I think that all the time. I think that this is just like we were talking about the flaps before, and we don't have to talk about flaps anymore. I swear we're not gonna. But
Deep flaps.
deep, the bottomless flaps. of
where else are you gonna find the
Wisconsin.
Wonder Spot?
You know, I think that Wisconsin is its own flap.
It is.
We're our own flap, and that's what
Our own folded dimension.
Well, I
Yeah,
do think that
totally.
some places have, and I hate that. There's a guy named David Oman, and he bought this property right by where the who was Roman Polanski's wife that got murdered? Sharon Tate.
Tate.
Right,
Oh,
right
sure.
by the Sharon Tate murders. And he buys this property right there, and he says it's haunted and all these kind of things happening there. And the thing is, people go there And while some of the stories might be a touch outrageous, I don't even know if that's my daughter anymore. Like I texted my wife to say, like, stop, tell her to stop. But so some of these, some of the stories that he tells might be outrageous. And then the people go there and they experience weird things with their ghost equipment, not just the usual, the EMF, but like compasses turn around. So there are geomagnetic anomalies that can happen in certain kind of places. And so does that contribute to our paranormal experience in the place? If we have natural, we're used to like the North Pole being where the North Pole is, and electromagnetism being the way it is. And then all of a sudden you're in a place where there's a giant magnet or something, like a natural giant magnet. And does that mess with your head and make you see things?
Okay, well, I don't
alter your chemistry.
It can alter your chemistry. I don't necessarily think it means that nothing has happened. Like if you go into a haunted house, one of the first things like you should check when people are like, the walls are bleeding and there's a hat man in my bathroom, is to find out whether or not in the area that they're going, is there a copper water pipe sitting right next to an electrical wire, an electrical main? Because if that's happening, definitely can cause an electromagnetic field that can cause auditory and visual hallucinations. That's real. But I mean, from a very basic perspective, the universe itself could be just one very complex simulation / hallucination. So does that make it less real? Are you experiencing something that's not existing because of these weird electromagnetic fields? Or are you becoming more sensitive to something you wouldn't normally be able to perceive because of the electronic field?
Sure, right. And if it is a simulation, does it even matter? Right?
Right.
Because
exactly.
It's real to us.
Right. It's happening in your brain.
T's like, before we go into simulation
T's about to light the bong up.
Totally good point, Mike.
So we're at a point now where this is what I'd like to do. And if you're watching and you want to leave a comment, we'll read some of these too. But I want to go through the panel here and tell us what's going to be big for you, or even small for you, in 2023. What are you looking forward to? What plans do you have? What projects are you going to be working on? So we'll start with Heidi. And like I say, if you're watching, type a comment and we'll read those in between our guests.
What are we doing this? Well, we do have that big plan to rent a Winnebago and go to the big Bigfoot conference.
Ohio Bigfoot conference.
Yep. That's going to be a whole thing. We're going to rent the Winnebago. We're going to pack her full of snacks and jerky. And we're just going to really take our time getting there and have a marvelous time in camp. And it's going to be good. That'll be good fun. I'm trying to plan a trip to Europe this year as well. There's a couple of places in Romania I'd really like to see. There's that famously haunted forest. What is it called? Baku Hamer? It's a giant haunted forest and I want to go to it. So that'll be fun. I don't know. I'd like to do something I probably shouldn't do and get away with it. That's my big plan for this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in general, not a specific plan.
I'll see. I'll look for my moments. I'll know it when it presents itself. That's it.
Okay, cool. Jenny?
First, I wanted to say, Heidi, I'm a big fan of the show. I love listening to you. Aww. So I just wanted to get that out there because I'm like, sure, T never relays that because every time I listen, I'm like, T, I just listened to your podcast. I love Heidi. And he's like, cool. He's like, when you come, like, I'll introduce you, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it hasn't happened.
Idea. Yeah.
I would have loved to introduce you at Krampusnacht. Jenny was there. She came in from Denver.
I flew in for the day. I took a day trip.
Yeah.
Oh, wild. Well, it's funny because I'm always trying to get to Denver. Actually, I have people out there and there's also cool stuff. So if I do, we'll get like a facial and a cup of coffee. It'll be great. Yeah.
As far as plans, we got to write this book, T.
Yeah.
This year I got kind of derailed. I do travel a lot. I travel 4 days a week. So I can't even keep up with myself. And I think one of the problems too with like making blog posts for me is my pictures are too big. Like they won't load. Like I have to like resize them and stuff, and it just takes a bunch of time. And I just get busy, and when I come home, I'm just exhausted because I have other stuff. I DJ vinyl records too on the side. I have a family, so there's just a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, I do really, really, really want to we said we would talk like once a week so we can
That's
make
the way
progress.
you got to do it. If you want to work on a big project, you just got to be like, every Thursday I'm going to work on this shit for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then it slowly starts to build into something more solid.
I went to a bunch of haunted places and stuff this year too, or said to be haunted, allegedly haunted. I went to Savannah twice. I did go on a ghost thing there, and yeah, it was. I had a lot of things. I just haven't even. I can barely keep up with Instagram. I'm terrible at I'm shit at Facebook, and I'm shit at my blog. but I do keep up on Instagram. But I definitely have to be better. So that's my plan.
Here, Heidi, by the way, Shane is a great resource that we have for this show because
Shane, you're just the best.
He finds links to stuff all the time, which really helps people in the comments section. They can click on the link and find more information. So
I think we need to get. I'm sorry, Shane just needs a jacket with like the suede elbow patches and a pair of like spectacles, and he used to have his own little T's Weird Week corner where he just rips open a giant book and just points out the information. I love Shane.
Yeah, so he has got a link there about the forest that you were mentioning.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, Mike. What's you and American Ghost Walks? It seems like the company is always expanding. Are you looking to expand more in the future?
Or the big one coming up, we'll have a bus tour in LA.
Nice.
Hopefully so most of that's done. Now it's just a matter of I'm just like cleaning up some of the script stuff to make sure it's great. So there'll be a bus tour in Los Angeles. It'll be the only haunted history bus tour in Los Angeles. We'll have that going in the first quarter of this year. There might be a new state soon. I don't know yet. I gotta sleep. I've got a 9-month-old that is taking a lot of the time. So I'm more Mrs. Doubtfire than Stephen King most of the days. But the that one 2023 we're going to publish American Ghost Walk's first book.
Oh, cool.
We already have a couple of manuscripts finished. Now it's a matter of actually getting into and make sure they're great before sending it to the printer. And Sunspot's going to do a couple videos on haunted places. Like
nice.
last time we did spot in Lake Geneva where we did an actual, like we did a video shoot and then we did a ghost hunt all night where we, did the Estes method and stared into a mirror, a psychomantium, trying to talk to the dead.
Sweet.
And had a couple of weird experiences while we were there. And so looking forward to doing that in 2023 and getting it out there. So a lot of good stuff. It's just a matter of like finishing it up. It's like we're really close. So I know that first quarter we'll have that bus tour in LA. Hopefully by second quarter, our first book. And then some great VIP experiences in Milwaukee and Chicago and LA, people, and even in Hawaii and Puerto Rico too. People who are looking to have like a gold-plated paranormal experience. Well, we can't promise the paranormal experience, but we can promise history and fun and the best stuff in places like Milwaukee, restaurants and hotels and stuff. And so we're working on that with actually. And hopefully that'll be something that'll be in like the Destination Milwaukee guide and stuff like that in 2023. So fingers are always crossed. As long as the comet doesn't come and wipe us out like the dinosaurs, I can't wait to get to it.
Cool. Alicia, what do you got going
on? So my mom is in the comments and she's worried about you, Mike, and your light.
Here's a comment. I'm worried about Mike and his light situation.
My mom loves
out the house on fire.
My mom loves ghosts and ghost hunting, so we're gonna have to do a couple tours and but yeah, like for me it's editing the film. I'm in editing prison for the foreseeable future, and we're hoping to screen either early 2023. But yeah, just doing that, and then me and my art business are going on tour 2023, so I'll be doing a bunch of craft fairs in Milwaukee and Minnesota, and I'm trying to get to Dragon Con in Atlanta.
Yes.
So whatever
amazing.
nerd craft fair festivals you know of, send them to me.
Well, we're gonna have you at Krampusnacht for sure.
Absolutely. I think Krampusnacht went viral on TikTok a little bit, T.
It did. It
Yeah.
totally did.
One of the reasons why is we've got a great young friend, Goth Sconson, right? Who's at the Milwaukee Paranormal
Who
Conference.
is that?
Her name's Taylor, and she has a very popular TikTok page called Goth Sconson.
That's
What?
awesome. That's so good. So
she-
happy.
She was there doing a lot of, and I asked her specifically because I don't know TikTok. I'm too old, but I appreciate that it is something that is what people are into
Picking
now.
up.
We
Yeah.
gotta get
I think
Goth Wisconsin
that-
on here.
That Gemma Tarlac article though in Atlas Obscura though was great.
Yeah.
as
Oh,
well.
so
And
good.
it's
Yeah.
cool that she's gone from just the journal or whatever now to getting it out there. So that's awesome that she gave some hometown love
Yeah.
Yeah.
to Krampus, and then that saw a lot of action.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It got a lot of likes, a lot of shares on all platforms. Goth Sconson was good. Puerto Wiccan, other people were sharing on TikTok as well.
That's
I
awesome.
know there was a few TikTokers with a good following there. So
I'm like an elder Gen Z young millennial, so
Yeah.
I'm learning TikTok. Like
Yeah.
I have to,
Yeah.
but like I just saw like someone comment on it. I was scrolling by and I was like, "What?" And someone made this joke like, "I love how people talk about like being how Western culture is all about being God-fearing, and then you just go over there and it's about demons stealing babies." And it was this funny joke. But I was
It's the
like, that's
same.
Krampusnacht.
I think the most sacrilegious thing about TikTok though is that the fact that it's portrait rather than landscape.
That's a debate. That's a
it-
debate. Generational
I
divide.
feel like we should ask John Waters what he feels about this. Like, are you okay with this aspect ratio? Because I'm not.
That would be interesting to ask John Waters his
I think
opinion of
he'd
TikTok.
be okay with whatever the weirdest thing was. I think that would
he'd
be the
love
answer.
the liminal space kind of vibe in a way, but that's a good question.
Not a lot of vistas on TikTok. But
Alicia, here's another helpful
close and
piece.
growth. He can do it.
Here's another helpful piece of information for you, Alicia, from Shane. Milwaukee Maker Fair.
How do we get to?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That'd be a good spot for you.
Oh, cool. I'll look that up. Thank you, Shane.
Okay, well, those are all some really awesome big projects that everyone's working on. Very cool. I think that's about it for the show, but I want to thank all of you for being part of my life.
Aw.
Aw, Happy New Year.
Auntie.
Happy New Year's, everyone.
Happy New Year, buddies.
All right, I'm going to end the broadcast there.